All right. Sorry, it disconnected me as I started this. Can everyone see my screen and can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Warren, I've worked with you for a couple of years now, but my name is Mike Newhouse-Bailey. I'm the faculty lead in the sport management program. Mark was unable to join us today, but our dean of programs in the business school is Mark Hobson. If you ever need anything from him, he's a tremendous resource and a really nice guy. And joining us too is Darren Heald. To talk about the internship program. So if you have any questions specific to him when Darren's talking, feel free to type away. But we'll go ahead and get started. And briefly, I'm not going to read this whole thing, and I'll share the slides. But the program description essentially, students have 8 required core courses in sport management. In addition, they get 4 electives to kind of tailor their experience towards their career goals. And ultimately, they're going to end up with 36 credits in the graduate program here at SNU. We've been working with Major League Soccer for the past couple of years, and that's developed into a nice relationship. I'm not sure if you've had any students in your courses, Warren. I've had a couple of really good students from Major League Soccer, and we've been able to place different students with internships with them. So that's been a really good kind of boon to our program. So if you have any students who are interested in Major League Soccer, definitely let them know that we do have a key partnership with them, and it's a tremendous opportunity for them should they be interested in pursuing that. Our outcomes, this is going to be another one that I'll go through quickly. We started a little bit late, but also we just have a lot of outcomes in the sport management program. This is something that we're working on. We're going to try to narrow these down to really hone in on what we want our students to get out of the program at SNU. But currently, I think there's around 12 different program outcomes, and I believe most other programs have somewhere around 6. So we're going to have to really try to be concise with how we do this. You can see them there on the screen. We want to integrate management and leadership theory in an applied environment, analyze problem solving in an applied environment, recognize and implement connections between classroom learning and practical experience, demonstrate the ability to communicate, integrate ethical frameworks in decision making, integrate an awareness of factors that contribute to global sport business issues, synthesize sport management principles in an international context, critically analyze the influence of social, cultural, or political institutions on global sport business, critically analyze the interrelationships between functional areas in sport business organizations, integrate strategic analysis into the planning process, evaluate external and internal factors and the interrelationships affecting decision making. So clearly a lot of outcomes. Fortunately, in measuring how successful our students are at these outcomes, we are successful in achieving most of these. It's just something moving forward to give our program more of a focus. We're going to try to really hone in and narrow this down. If you have any thoughts or feedback on that, please send me an email or reach out, and that would be fantastic and very welcome. And also, if you have any questions during this, Warren, feel free to type into the comment bar. I can see that on my screen here. The program review, I'm going to go over this very briefly and then turn it over to Darren to talk about the internships. But we conducted an annual, or not annual, but we conducted a program review last year to try to see how we can grow and change as a department. What came out of that is kind of redesigning our internship to be more student friendly, instituting a 4+1 program. So this is something where students can get an undergraduate and a graduate degree in 5 years. If they're if they're aggressive in their course taking, and obviously if they're able to take some of the graduate classes as undergrads. But as a heads up, if you're teaching 565 or 510, if you have students that are in this 4+1 program, you might have a couple of undergraduate students that are a little younger than the rest of the class. Just kind of something to be aware of. The other thing that we're going to probably work on is developing some various concentrations. I put a few there on the slide. We would like to possibly develop concentrations in athletic administration, marketing, facilities management, things to that nature, where if students want to really focus on a specific career outcome, if they know exactly what they want to do and they want to take courses tailored to that, then we want to provide some concentrations available to them. This is another area where if you have any feedback or comments in terms of concentrations you think would be good for students to have, please
Yeah,
do let me
sure,
know, and
absolutely.
that would be phenomenal information for us.
So I think
Darren, do you
the
want to go
big
ahead and
thing
talk
here,
about
and
the
thank you, Mike.
internships?
The program review and the program revision is great. It's been a great thing to see happen within our MS sport. So I think the big change, a couple of big changes here, and Warren, you may be familiar with this, but the internship used to be a requirement for this program. So students coming into the MS sport would have to complete an internship of 300 hours before they graduate. Two big changes. One, the internship is no longer a requirement. So what we're trying to do from our end here in Career Services is proactively work with these students to ensure that they understand the value of the internship early on in their program, so that we're not getting towards the end of their graduation timeline, and they're kind of scrambling to find experience. We want to ensure that the students have that message up front that says, hey, if you're not in this field, there are great ways for you to earn experience and earn academic credit for that experience while you're here at SNHU, and how that experience is going to help them, ultimately achieve their end goal. So I think from a faculty standpoint, it's a question of whether or not we can have our faculty kind of reiterating that same message in the classroom. The faculty here, the voice of the faculty is so powerful. And what we would just ask is that if you're identifying students that would really benefit from an internship, that you're talking that up through the classroom. Maybe it's an announcement, maybe it's a one-off email as you get to know who your student is, to say, hey, I think you'd really benefit from some field work, and here's kind of the layout of how you can go about that. So I think that's the big change, from requiring the internship to not requiring an internship. And then the hour mark. And this was a huge benefit for our students. No longer do we require 300 hours for the sport internship. It's now down to 150 hours, which aligns perfectly with all of our other programs that require a certain hour mark being 150 hours. So our students are able to gain experience, earn academic credit, with less of a burden, I would say, on the adult learner. Trying to fit 300 hours into a 10-week term is essentially a full-time job. So 150 hours is much more manageable for our adult learners. And then we have some options to build in flexibility into these internships as well. So if a student ever comes and says, hey, I'd really benefit from gaining some experience in the field, but I just can't fit it into my, my work life, my family life, whatever it is, we have the ability to stretch an internship out over multiple terms, so that 150 hours doesn't actually need to be done within a 10-week term. We can stretch it into 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, up to a maximum of 5 terms if necessary. So we have flexibility there, and I think, again, just overarching message is, if we're identifying students who could really benefit from field work, let's make sure that they know about it, that they're connected to our career services department, and we're able to work with them on finding a solution.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, and I think that
And
was
that's really
great,
it
Darren.
on
I
that
appreciate that. I
part,
was
Mike. If
unaware
you
that it could extend
have
up to
questions or
5
anything else
terms,
you want
so
me to
that's
hit
good
on,
for me to know too. um, did you- yeah.
yes, up to a year. So we've had
That's
we've
really
had a
nice.
couple
Did you have any
run
questions
that
about the
long. Not
internship
very
program,
typical, but
Warren?
we have that. We have that flexibility.
If you do, go ahead and type that in the bar or let me know, and we'll make sure that we get that. I see you typing. One thing that I think is a little bit unique to sport is the value of the internship, I believe, is higher than other programs. Getting that foot in the door in the sport industry is very difficult, and if you're able to do that in an academic setting and start to grow that professional experience, it's invaluable. And I think for a lot of students, once they hit that job search when they graduate, if their resume has tangible experience, that's going to put them head and shoulders above a lot of students that don't have that. And I see that you don't have questions, so thank you, Warren. Darren, if you do have to go, because I know you have a meeting coming up, I appreciate your time today.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah, I
thanks, Darren.
appreciate it, Mike. And if any follow-up questions. All right.
All right, thanks, Darren. All right, we'll continue through the slideshow, Warren. So here's an overview of the program. So the required courses are research methods, sport and society, internationalization of sport business, management of sport organizations, sport marketing and media, finance and economics of sport, and the sport management capstone. So one of the changes, as Darren mentioned, is the internship is not required. So they either have to take an additional sport management course at the graduate level, or they need to take that internship to get that kind of final required core. And then their electives can come within either 2 from the sport management program and 2 other business courses, or they could take 4 additional sport management courses depending on what they're interested in. One thing I would like to highlight is I know I've had students in the past that had a pretty big interest in social media, and there are some graduate social media courses in the business school that might be a good option for electives should our students want that. Here's a quick overview of what our students look like. This is, I believe, about a year and a half old now. We haven't had the most recent data, but one thing that I think Southern New Hampshire has different than other universities is the average age of our students. So our average age of students is 32 years old, and their average GPA within our program is 3.59. Tend to skew a little bit more male than female. I see this reflected in my courses. I'm not sure if you do as well. But with that, hopefully our students are more mature in terms of how they can, balance the various work that they're doing in addition to taking courses. This is the Student Success Scorecard. If you look at the major program, it's MS SAD, which stood for Sport Administration, I believe is what it stood for. We're trying to change that because that doesn't sound very good to call us the MS SAD department. But overall, our students are successful within the program. Their success rate is at about an 88%, so this is them successfully completing courses with a passing grade and moving on to the next course that they're required to take. And that's it's improved about 7% from last year, and it's just a little bit over the average for all of the Southern New Hampshire programs. So we're really happy with how successful our students are. The last thing I kind of wanted to touch on before I open it up to any questions is go over the 2 new courses that have been redeveloped that are launching. One launched last term, one is launching this term. The first one is we just redeveloped the internship course, as Darren said, and it actually has a little bit more of an academic rigor to it since it is a graduate course. So we'll go over that quickly. The outcomes in the course are to apply sport business program competencies in a practical real-world problems within a professional setting, employ professional communication skills and behaviors appropriate for an intended audience within the sport industry, analyze the functional areas in sport business organizations for determining departmental interrelationships, and finally assess personal progress in attaining professional career goals within a sports industry management setting. Real quickly, the overview for the course now. I don't know if you've taught this course before, Warren, but it used to be basically just kind of weekly memos, and then they would submit a final reflection paper. And the focus of the redevelopment was really to kind of help them in professional development, really making sure that they have a good quality resume to apply for jobs when they graduate, making sure they have the skills to write cover letters, making sure they know how to kind of manage the job search within the sport context, and then just really trying to work on their professional writing skills. I'm sure we've all had emails from students that are not the most professional from time to time, and we wish our students would kind of take that responsibility and understand how to write in a professional manner. And so hopefully this course will help with that. So it follows more of a traditional course path like we do with our new redesigned courses with the various milestones that scaffold on one another, leading to that final summative assessment. The summative assessment, there's an overview of it there. So essentially it is a reflection on their internship experience, but we want them to write it as an executive summary to try to, again, work on that professional writing. So it's something that is going to be pretty lengthy in that it's 10 to 15 pages long. But this is something where the different milestones are going to build towards that, so they're not writing this all at once, because they are working for a sport organization while they're doing this, so we don't want to burden them with too much. But it is a graduate course, and so we want to make sure it has the academic rigor that we want our students to have. The other course that we redeveloped that started last term is Sport 620. This was one that was a required course, but actually wasn't developed for the online space until last term. This is a course that we need in our program, and so I'm really happy that we have it out there now for students. And the first term went well, and so far off to a good start in this term as well. So provide students with a financial foundation with an emphasis in college athletics and professional sport. I know some students are going to go into different career paths, but most of our students, those are the two areas that they're looking to go into. Again, it's going to follow the same model in terms of the scaffolding approach with the milestones, building towards that summative assessment. And so in the past, even though it was listed that sport finance was a required course, students were taking the business foundations course. And so having another sport course, I think, is much better for our students, and I hope that they enjoy this class. Outcomes, I'm going to pop these up there. I'm not going to read them all as we have just about 5 minutes left. But again, it's what you would expect from a course on finance and economics. It's wanting our students to understand the financial aspects of sport, what makes it unique from other businesses, and then just really putting them in a place so when they're in the workforce they can speak with a good amount of knowledge about this topic, as hopefully they'll be dealing with some issues related to financing, budgeting, fundraising, things to that nature. And for this one, their final assessment, students are going to create a budget proposal. And this is a very detailed budget proposal. It's going to be 10 to 12 pages long. Again, it's going to focus on that professional writing aspect as well. But it's going to get them to start applying some of the skills of financial forecasting and things to that nature. So this is going to be a kind of a much different course than other ones that they've had here at Southern New Hampshire, but I'm really excited about the prospects of it. So those are our two new recently redeveloped courses. So do you have any questions, Warren? Thanks again for taking 30 minutes out of your busy schedule to chat with me. I'm going to go ahead and end the slideshow and see if I can get back to... See, there's my smiling face. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this time, Warren. Again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. If you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to call me on my cell phone, call me at home, or send me a quick email. Best of luck with everything.